You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So there's two guys working in a warehouse. We're going to call them Bob and Dave. And Bob is just not feeling it. He doesn't want to work. He just wants to go home and go to bed or relax or whatever. He does not want to put in a full day's work. And Dave goes, you don't have a choice, man. You got to be here. You're here. Just work. He goes, no. I'm going to get my boss. I'm going to get the boss to send me home. He goes, how are you going to do that? He goes, watch. And he climbs up the steel girder across into this cross beam, and he hangs upside down from the cross beam. And the boss comes over and goes, Bob, what in the hell are you doing? And Bob looks at him very seriously and says, I'm a light bulb. And he goes, I don't know. Sounds like that bulb's a little loose. Look, why don't you go home and just take a day off? Bob drops down and heads out the door. Well, Dave starts to follow him. The manager goes, what, Dave, where are you going? He looks back at the boss, goes, well, you don't expect me to work in the dark. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Wednesday, May 17th, and I just remembered that joke at the last minute before the show started. So those are the best cold openings when it's just this wild joke that pops up. But let's see who's here so far. We got Triple B. I wonder if Triple B's driving home or if he's already there. Probably just driving home. We got Cool and we got Ed. Good to see you guys. Ed, since you asked yesterday, this is what I'm working on right now. It's about the third of the length. That's a blanket. So, all right. We are going to have some fun today. I'm going to catch you guys up on Warhammer, what I've learned so far. Because it turns out there's a lot going on in the game, and this might be the perfect time to get in. So I will tell you guys what I've learned, what's coming up, and just show you what I've been working on. Also, tomorrow's show, we're not 100% sure if this is what the show is going to be, but it's a good chance of it. I picked up the Star Wars Timeline. And this is a pretty interesting book. I just got it at like 5 a.m. this morning. They delivered to my house at 5 a.m. But there's some really good stuff in here. And it is a good mix of art from the movies, the TV shows, the animated series, and the comic books. You probably see right there, that's one of the images from the comics. So it should be interesting. And video games. I forgot. Cal Kestis is in here too. So we'll talk some about this. We'll go through it, see what's interesting. I'll probably read it over tomorrow night and give you guys a rundown on it. They're doing one for Marvel as well, or for the MCU as well. So that should be interesting because if this brings the comics into it, will the MCU one do? I don't know. Probably not, but it's possible. So we will talk about that tomorrow. We will talk about Warhammer today, but yep, Amazon. I ordered it last night, thinking, or right before the shows yesterday, thinking, well, maybe I'll get it by late tomorrow night or early in the morning. I could talk about it on Thursday. And they're like, would you like it delivered between 5 and 8 a.m. tomorrow? And I went, how much? And they went, for nothing. We're just going to do it. Bring it on. Bring it on. So I woke up at like 5:15, looked at my phone, went, oh, look, I have a delivery. Went outside and got it. So, all right. We are going to go to the news, and JD says he's got something for me. So let's see it.
Did you not hear it?
There it is now. First time I didn't hear it. So, hello, Canoness Lucia. I don't know if I should call you Canoness or Lucia. I've been calling you Canoness, but if you have a preference, let me know. So, all right, let's get to the news. We have our little sound now. That's very nice. All right, we've got a bunch of Marvel news, and some of it is stuff we heard late yesterday, and I wanted to go a little more in depth into, and some is stuff that's just happening today. The first thing has to do with Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey, of course, played in Legion, was great on that, has been, a fan favorite and a lot of stuff. But she is, of course, supposed to be in Agatha Coven of Chaos, that used to be known as Agatha House of Harkness. Okay, Triple B's at a stoplight. Focus on driving, man. I'll do the talking, you do the driving. So Plaza posted something today, and it's kind of got people buzzing because they're trying to figure out exactly what it means. It's an image of the back of a set chair, and you guys know what set chairs are, or the director's chair is another term for it. They got the wooden legs, that X, and the cloth bottom, and the cloth back. And there's usually like the actor's name or the logo for the project on there. And that's kind of what this is, except for the logo on it says Marvel Studios The Darkhold Diaries. And it's done up in a similar logo to the Princess Diaries. Now, this, of course, has led everybody to go, oh my God, what does it mean? What does it mean? What's going on? What? Well, there's some options here. One of them could be something as simple as Agatha Coven of Chaos maybe getting yet another name change. Do I think they're going to call it Agatha the Darkhold Diaries? No. I don't think they're going to do that, but it's a possible. Another one, this could be the logo for that rumored Mephisto special that people have been talking about. That's supposed to star Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto, which I love the casting, but are we really going to get a Mephisto special? Seems kind of out there. And this could just be the title of one of the episodes. Or this could be a prop from the show. They had a lot of fourth wall breaking and stuff in WandaVision, and this is a sequel to that or a spin-off of that. So it could just be kind of like, Agatha was sitting in a director's chair in the one episode that kind of spoofed Modern Family. So it could be something like that. I think it was Modern Family and Malcolm in the Middle Malcolm in the Middle was the other one. The Modern Family was after that. So, it could be anything. But this isn't the first time we've seen them do a parody logo involving this series. Back in January, somebody had gotten a picture of a logo done up saying Agatha of Westview, but it was done in the same style as Mayor of Easttown. So it's another possibility here is that how WandaVision spoofed different sitcoms? Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, Malcolm in the Middle, Modern Family. And Brady Bunch. It's possible that this series is also spoofing something, like maybe female-led projects. Both Mayor of Easttown and Princess Diaries are female-led projects. Or maybe it's something, I don't know. I don't know what the correlation is, but that could be what it's doing, is that each episode is parodying something from, like that. So I wouldn't try to read too much into it because I don't think it's probably as big as some people are making it out, but it is out there. And we know that Plaza is going to be playing in Agatha, and the show is supposed to be filming now, but the rest of it, we'll figure it out as we go. All right. Yesterday, I talked about how the Hollywood Reporter had been saying that certain actors were being considered for certain roles in Superman Legacy, including like David Cornsweet or Nicholas Hoult. And one of the people up for in consideration is the star of The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Rachel Brosnahan. I'm slaughtering that name, probably Brosnahan. Now she's a very popular actress right now, and she pretty much, well, they're saying that she might be up for the role of Lois Lane. Reporter for the Daily Planet, love interest of Clark Kent, Superman. Now, Brosnahan heard of the rumors and responded, saying, take everything you read on the internet with a grain of salt. That's my first piece of advice. But look, it would be extraordinary. I grew up watching Lois Lane, this incredibly talented journalist who is far from a damsel in distress, and I would jump at the chance if it arose. So I think it sounds like she might be hearing of this the first time. So if she's being considered, she'd be up for it at least. We know that. Now, the report also listed that Emma Mackey, Phoebe Dynevor, and Samara Weaving were also being considered. So, but I do like her. I like the look that Rachel Brosnahan has. She has that look of Lois Lane much more than Samara Weaving does, at least. I'm not too familiar with the other two actresses, but I could totally see Brosnahan as Lois Lane. More set photos from Captain America, New World Order. And this one has given us the first look at Danny Ramirez in his return as Joaquin Torres. But this time, it looks like he's taken Sam's broken wings and learned to fly again. Yes, he's wearing an outfit similar to Sam's old Falcon costume. And Sam did left the wings with him. So it looks like he repaired them and put together his own costume. But his color scheme is different. It's more military looking with green and khaki. Now, in the comics, Torres becomes the second Falcon when Sam becomes Captain America. And his costume there is mostly green. So him taking on this green and khaki color makes a lot of sense. Mind you, his wings are actually part of his body in the comics, not mechanical. So it doesn't seem like they're going that way. But hey, close enough, right? These same photos are the ones that showed us yesterday that Anthony Mackie will be getting a new Captain America costume, even though he just got one at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's going to get another new one. Maybe this will be like a stealth version or something, but they're changing it up. It looks more blue than white. And it's also where we learned that WWE Seth Rollins was going to be in the movie as potentially a member of the Serpent Society. So, all right, let's move on to, these were the two big stories that came out from Marvel yesterday. And I wanted to dive a little deeper into them. Now, the first having to do with the fact that the Hawkeye spinoff series Echo, which stars Alaqua Cox, who, by the way, just announced she's pregnant. Congrats to her and her husband. That this would be released on Disney Plus on November 29th. And unlike every other Marvel series so far, they're dropping all of them. Just Jay says mowing the grass, but wanted to stop by and just say, oh, hey Jay, good day for a mow. But they're dropping all these episodes at once, which again isn't something they normally do. So why are they doing this? Now, there's two strong reasons why this could be. Now, the first one is pretty neutral, pretty straightforward. The second one is not so good for the series. So let's look at the first one first. It could be that they're just getting it out there because of the schedule. They've got so many things lined up. You've got Ahsoka in August, and then you've got Loki starting in October. And I think I think Skeleton Crew is going to try to come out at the end of the year. So it could be that's like the only window they had to put it out without it overlapping with another Marvel or Star Wars series. And they couldn't wait because they've got Agatha Coven of Chaos coming up. And then after that, Daredevil Born Again. And since both Echo and Born Again involve Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin and Charlie Cox as Daredevil, it seems like that Echo needs to come out first. So to me, that's pretty much the straightforward reason. Everything has been getting delayed and delayed. So they're at a point now, it's like, well, we got to put this series out. So we're just going to dump it right near Thanksgiving, let everybody just binge watch it. And we'll see what the numbers are. It's a sacrificial lamb in a sense. See how binge watching does on Disney Plus. So again, that's kind of the neutral reason. The other reason, it could be that they're not that confident in the series. And if they drop it all at once, then the odds are they'll get just a lot of viewers in that first couple of days, really before all the reviews could get out there. So, I realize this is kind of the cynical option, but it has to be considered because this series has been kind of bumped around and there hasn't really been a strong vibe off of it. So are they just doing a dump here? Or are they actually putting this out because of the schedule? Or is there a third reason? If there's something I'm not thinking of and you guys are, let me know. All right, let's go on to the second big Marvel announcement from yesterday. And this has to do with when we're going to get Loki. Now, we know we're getting Secret Invasion in June, and it had been said that we were going to get Loki in August or September. Well, it's October 6th now. So a little bit longer back. But there was some surprises in the actual press release that went out. And those surprises involved the cast list. Because the actual cast list included Tom Hiddleston, and that he would be joined by Owen Wilson, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Sophia DiMartino, Wunmi Musaku, and Richard E. Grant. Now, all of them returning. And we know that there's two other people that are going to be in it, but they weren't part of the press release. Eugene Cordero, and Short Round from Indiana Jones. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but so all of them are coming back. Well, Tom Hiddleston, of course, is Loki. Owen Wilson is Mobius. Gugu Mbatha-Raw is, of course, Ramona Renslayer. Sophia DiMartino plays Sylvie. Wunmi Musaku is B-15. I believe that's what her character's name was. Hey, aggressive. And Richard E. Grant, that's the surprise one to me, because Grant played old Loki. Ke Huy Quan, thank you. Grant played older Loki in the last 2 episodes of the season, and his character perished at the paws of Aelith. Now, it's not going to surprise anybody that a Loki cheats death. But it is a little surprising that he is coming back, because, I mean, I'm kind of curious where he's going to fit into all this. If maybe he's the big bad for season 2. I don't know. But I do like the fact he's coming back, because I thought he was so good as Loki, and he looked like Jack Kirby's version of Loki. more so than Tom Hiddleston ever has. And I love that they put him in a suit without the muscles in it, like they do for just about everybody else. They just went, here, put these leotards on. Thought that was great. But he might also be a Loki from a different multiverse. There's a lot of options when it comes to this show. But the other thing of note from the list is the absence of the name Jonathan Majors. We were introduced to Majors in the first season as He Who Remains, and of course he played Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Plus, there was the post-credit scenes, one that shows him as all the variations of Kang, and the second one that actually had Loki and Mobius in it, looking at him as Victor Timely, that was working the crowd at the turn of the 20th century. So you would expect that Major's name would have been in the cast list. I don't know how big a role he's going to have in season 2, but he's supposed to be in it. That's what everybody has been talking about, and it's been said. So what's up? Well, it's probably obvious. They're leaving him off the press because of his legal issues. Now, if you're not up to speed with that, Majors was arrested for basically a domestic dispute. His lawyer came out almost immediately saying that he was completely innocent and that they had proof and they expected all charges to be dropped, but they weren't. The Manhattan DA is moving forward with the case, charging Majors with 3 counts of assault in the 3rd degree, aggravated harassment in the 2nd degree, 3 counts of attempted assault in the 3rd degree, and harassment in the 2nd degree. Now, a lot of this stuff is misdemeanor-like charges, but he could get up to a year in prison. Now, Majors appeared for a preliminary hearing, and basically it was but he did it by video conference, and they set another trial date, which he has to appear. He's been ordered to appear in person for a hearing on the case scheduled for Tuesday, June 13th. So we're still about a month away from getting at least some more answers, maybe. But in the meantime, Majors is trying to move on with his life. He lost his PR company. He lost the deal he had with the Army, I think also with the Washington Commanders. So he's losing money on this deal. But as of Saturday, there are reports now that Majors is now dating somebody. This is actress Megan Good, who played the superhero version of Darla in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So I'm not sure what's happening with Majors. I'm a little surprised with how confident his lawyer came out almost immediately, said they had video evidence, recanted statements, and all this stuff that, that it wasn't, that he was innocent. And then nothing changes. But supposedly on the 13th of June, the defense has filed a motion and the judge is supposed to rule on it. We don't know what that motion is, but we'll have to see. Now, if it's some, asking for a dismissal based on, the recanted statement, stuff like that, we'll have to see. And I think Marvel is in a wait and see pattern with him, because they've already invested a lot into the actor, and they want to make sure they do the right thing. They're a little gun shy after James Gunn and firing him and then bringing him back. So we'll have to see how this plays out, but it looks like we're about a month away from getting at least possibly some more answers. All right, we're going to wrap up the news there, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Warhammer. Be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons. To sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. Every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you have not. Tell your friends about the show. Let's get some more people in here. Just to follow up on one of the stories from a few minutes ago, Alakwa Cox has just posted on Instagram in an Instagram story where she was asked if she plans on doing any Comic-Cons to help promote Echo, and she said yes. She'll be doing Comic Palooza in Houston on May 20th, Superhero Comic-Con in San Antonio, July 7th and 8th, and San Diego Comic-Con on July 22nd. So I think right there we can see when the Marvel panel is going to be at Comic-Con. So let's just go ahead and block out July 22nd. I'll be here. Maybe I'll do a live broadcast and just as the news comes in, I'll just talk about it. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's talk a little bit about Warhammer. See, I was wondering about that because I know canonist is actually a term used in Warhammer. So I was wondering if you were a Warhammer fan. So good to see you are. It says, I love Warhammer. I love the story behind it. I also paint Warhammer 4000 and Age of Sigmar miniatures. Excellent. I just recently got into Warhammer. I got my nephew plays, and for a couple of you, you're already probably familiar with this. My nephew plays with his friends, and he lives here. And I thought, well, you know what? I've been hearing about Warhammer a lot. I should build an army. I should, let me do that. I want to do this. I've been painting D&D miniatures. This little guy here is one that I painted. But these guys are also pre-assembled. Warhammer miniatures are not. It's a thing. So this is me learning Warhammer. And we've done 2 shows so far. I had one gentleman on just to talk Warhammer, and then I had Luna Knight come on to talk about painting them. But I've recently kind of dove in myself. And A lot of Blood Angel Space Marines and Sisters of Battle. Nice. I chose the Grey Knights. So I am diving into the Grey Knights full force. And I found a painting technique that I really like, which speeds it up quite a bit. And I don't know how Lucia does her painting. It's gotten a funny name on the internet. It's called slap chop. And I don't quite do exactly what slap chop is. Slap chop is you take your model, your unpainted model, like say this Grey Knight Terminator that I just built, and you spray paint him with primer, Chaos Black, and then you come through with gray and you do a dry brush gray on him, and then you do a dry brush white on him, and then you go through with what are known as contrast paints and you paint them. Now, there's a lot of information right there. Contrast paints is a thinner paint that when you spread it, it'll fill up the lines and crevices more than it will on the flat surfaces, therefore giving you more shadows and highlights. And if you do the steps of, the black primer, that's giving you all your shadows. The gray starts giving you your midtones. And then when you come in with a white dry brush, that adds highlights. And then your contrast paint will go over and those different shades will come through, giving you a three-dimensional look, giving you a better idea of that. Now, this is slightly different than what I just explained, but this is just the dry brush stage, the primer and the dry brush stage. And if I get them a little closer, he blurs out, but you can see there's actually a lot of depth to the character. And then once you go over it with the contrast paint, you start getting it like this. And you can see the detailed work and stuff. And I am not somebody with steady hands. I did not expect this was something I was going to be able to succeed at. I just thought I'd have fun with it and my guys would look like a total mess. Not the case. I am so pleased with how that one came out and how the ones that I have done the priming on, the dry brushing on. Now, what I did differently from Slap Chop is something called zenithal. And zenithal is almost the same thing, except you do the black primer, then you take another spray can or airbrush, and you can do all this with airbrush too. I don't own an airbrush, not my thing. But so you come in and you take your unpainted one and you get your spray can and you cover him in black all over. Great. Then you come back and you pick what you're going to consider your light source. And a lot of times you just do it from the top. And you just do a pass of the gray over the top. And what that does is that basically is your light source. It's light's coming from here. So all of that area will be lit up better. So your black's still going to be there, but your gray is going to hit on one side, basically creating your light source. Then you come in with the white dry brush, and then you end up with this look. And then you do your contrast paints. So that can be somewhat overwhelming depending on how big an army you're building and what you're trying to get out of it. And you got to also keep in mind that these figures start off. Now, this is a sprue for an Arbites Vigilant. He's just a little guy with a gun. This is one figure on this sprue. Now, you buy these bigger kits, and they'll give you one that's like this big, and you'll have 5 or 6 guys on there with a ton of different variations. And that's one of the neat things about it is you get a character like this Terminator guy. He's pretty standard, but it comes with, 5 Terminators in the pack. So you get different legs positions, different arms, different weapons. So this guy has two falchions and a gun on his arm. I have another one that carries a halberd, another one that carries a sword and a machine gun. So you get all these different options, or heavy gun. And they're all Terminators, but you kind of make them, customize them. But you also have to keep in mind that each one of these figures costs a certain number of points. So, for instance, this guy is a 20-point Terminator. This is a 135-point Grandmaster. He can do a hell of a lot more than this guy, but you have a point requirement on your army. And that's how you play. You find your opponent, and let's see, Lucia says, slap chop is a good technique for painting an army quick, but requires good paintbrush handling and control. It does, and patience. So you speed up the beginning process, and then you take your time doing the actual contrast painting. The other option is you primer it, you do a base coat, you do a layer, and then you do your highlights, and then you use a wash or something like that. So there are other options. I think the slap chop works for me with the slightly variation on the primer. But again, there's 1,000 videos online if you want to paint these guys. But why is this a good time to jump in? Well, there's a few reasons. If you find it could be cost prohibitive. For example, I've probably already spent, can you get them pre-assembled and pre-painted? Not necessarily. You might be able to buy used ones off of eBay that have already been built. But this, unlike Dungeons and Dragons, where they do sell some pre-made or pre-painted assembled figures, this one, the majority of them, no. That's building them and painting them is kind of part of the process. And it's interesting because you decide to get into the game, and you're still a ways away from doing it because you need to build an army. Lucia says, hence why I prefer painting with base acrylic colors from Citadel and layer paints and shades. Yeah, I've been using nothing. I've been using all Citadel paints as well, but I've been using their contrast paints. And why this is the right time to start Warhammer? Yeah, okay. So the reason I'm saying this is a good time to get in, there's a couple things happening right now. Number one is they're about to release a new edition. Now, I'm getting in on the end of 9th edition, and I got my codex, and that's the rule book for the Grey Knights. Each squad has a codex. Each faction, I believe there's 28 factions, if I'm remembering correctly, and they vary. Lucia mentioned the Sisters of Battle and Blood Angels. Blood Angels are a variation of the Space Marines. There's a bunch of variations of Space Marines. Even the Grey Knights are sort of a variation of Space Marines. They're kind of like Paladin versions. So they're outside, but yeah. So, the first in doing that, you need to find which ones appeal to you. But the reason I say it's a good time to get in. So you've got this new edition coming out, and one of the things they're doing with the new edition is they're trying to streamline the rules a little bit. They're taking out some of the phases of the game that really only applied to certain factions. Grey Knights are considered psychic troopers, so there was a psychic phase. Well, now they're taking that phase out, and they're just moving it into the combat phase, or shooting phase. So you're not stopping the game to do another phase, that your opponent may not even have to do anything for. They're also removing the morale phase, and it's kind of a fun phase in that your troops may run off on you if they don't have good morale, if they don't have a leader with them. They have to roll to see if they're going to stay on the battlefield or leave. But they're getting rid of that too in a way. Now, they're still keeping those mechanics, but they're going to be done in a slightly different way. But they're streamlining it a lot. When you play, you could end up with, this is data cards. It's all the different spells and stuff and objectives. A lot of stuff to deal with. And you got to lay them out. Well, they're going to change it to where you basically get a 2-page pamphlet or a flip open pamphlet, and that all the stuff you need is going to be right there. That's going to make the game a lot easier to get involved. But even with them streamlining it, trying to make it more accessible, financially, it could be prohibitive. If you're playing a 2,000 point army or a 1,000 point army, that's going to be a lot of money to get those troops. And then you got to paint all, or assemble them all and paint them all. So again, that could hold you back. But there's a couple things going on right now. One of which is they're going to be, they put out a box called Combat Patrol. There's also a boarding patrol, but we're going to talk about Combat Patrol. And the Combat Patrol is a great starter box, and that's what it's basically been for a while. And I picked it up, and it had 12 figures in it for me. It had the big Nemesis guy that I used to have up there who's currently being painted. And it has like Terminators and a Brotherhood Librarian and a Strike Squad. And it was enough for me to get around a 500 point army. The problem is that it wasn't exactly a 500 point army. I think it came to like 595. Now, my nephew buys a border patrol, the Astra Militarum, and his comes to like 498. So he's just under a 500. So just picking up the border patrol or the combat patrol, building them, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to just get on the thing, because it really depends. You got to find someone else with the same amount of points. It's supposed to be equal. Well, they're putting out a slight variation of the game, focusing on combat patrols that will adjust everything slightly. So in the main game, my combat patrol box is 595 points. But in the variation of in this new slightly varied version, it'll be a 500 point army. My nephew's box, as is, will also be a 500 point army. Every combat patrol box you pick up will be a 500 point army, which means that if you pick up the box, build it, paint it, you're good to go to fight somebody else with a combat patrol box. So makes it easier to get into the game. They also have another game called Kill Squad. And Kill Squad is a much smaller group that plays, and it's a more condensed version of the game. It's not exactly the same. Like the difference between Combat Patrol and the full game is only slight variations. Kill Team is almost a completely different game, but there's enough similarities that it's like a good walking in point. And a Kill Team is going to cost you, well, Combat Patrol is going to cost you around $150, depending on where you buy it from. You buy it at Games Workshop, it's about $150. You buy it off of Amazon, you might be able to get a little discount on it. I think I picked mine up for $125. The Border Patrol, which is another new pack that's out now, that's usually a little cheaper, closer to $100, $115. But that's a pretty good outlay. A Kill Team squad is going to cost you $50, $60. Kill Team, sorry, thank you. So if you want to get into this, you could pick up a Kill Team, do your building and your painting, and start playing that way. And there's even some boxes. There's one that just came out, Soul Takers, Soul something, and it had 2 kill teams in it. So if you bought it and with a buddy, and you took one army and they took the other, you split the cost, you're starting to play. So there are better ways to get into the game now than there was just a couple months ago. I mean, I think kill teams have been around a while, but these are good ways to get in instead of having to go out and spend $200-$300 on all this stuff. Because even when you buy something like a kill team box, you need certain tools. You need snippers to get everything off of the sprues. You got to cut these little guys off. They're not pop off. They're on there securely. You got to buy your paints and your primers and your brushes. So, I mean, this isn't a cheap hobby to get into, but it is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying the hell out of it, especially, I'm 5 figures away from having all mine built. Still need to be painted, but I could do the primer and dry brush stage and at least be far enough along that I could start playing, and then just come in afterwards and so that's my plan. So that's kind of the stuff I've learned recently with Warhammer, that there is a new expansion coming out, or a new edition. So it's a good time to jump in. With the Border Patrol, there's a chance that you could get in a little cheaper and at least get to the point where you could go and start playing. And with Kill Team, you could get in even cheaper. Also, if this is something you want to get into and don't know where to start, look for, your local game shops are all going to be good. But if you have a Games Workshop or a Warhammer store, they're the same thing, just the 2 different names, near you, they do a lot of great stuff. They will, for instance, this last weekend, this figure that I picked up is the free figure of the month. Like I said, this is a Adaptus Arbitus Vigilant character. He almost looks like RoboCop with a big gun. And they gave this to me. This was free, just for walking in the door. Now, that was on Saturday they gave these away, and they still had them Sunday and Monday. Now, I went over Sunday, picked it up, and if I wanted to stay, they had all the paints and stuff there, all the tools, so I could have stayed and got a painting lesson, or just stayed and used their paints and painted this figure. So I could have just, for the fun of it, drove to the store, got the sprue, started building them, and walk out of there with a painted mini, having done the whole process, glued it, painted it, the whole thing, and not spend a dime, and come out with my first miniature and know if I like this process or not. So that's something to think about. Let's see. Lucia said, I think I sunk $3,000 into the hobby and I'm just a year in. Yeah, see, it can be very expensive. So that's why I'm saying there are cheaper ways to get in, or to find out if this is something you like. You can go to Games Workshop, pick up one of the freebie guys, and if they also have some snap together guys. They have a Space Marine and a Storm Titan or something that you could put together, because there's the sci-fi version, Warhammer 40K, and there's the fantasy version, Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Yep, first one's free. It always works that way. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. I have a couple comics we'll blast through before we wrap up the show, so we'll be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Ed, I'm going to agree with Lucia. I bought the pack, and I was scared. I mean, I bought it in December, and I didn't paint any of them until just recently, and it's because I was intimidated by it. But I watched so many videos on it, and just got in my head what I wanted to do, that I thought I'd give it a shot. And this turned out so much better than I expected. And it's not great. There are flaws. I still look at it. I get it up close. I'm like, oh, I missed that spot. Oh, I could do this. He should be shiny, But the fact is that right now, if I was going to play a game and he was sitting at the head of my army, I'd be happy. And if you want to do this, like I said, if there's a Games Workshop or a Warhammer store near you, just walk in and say, what day can I get a painting lesson? They'll give you the paints. They'll give you the figure. They will set you up. You don't even have to put any money out, and you could find out if you could do this. I was surprised to learn I could. I started with a Games Workshop painting lesson, and Lisa did as well, and her kids did as well, and we've all been painting figures. So it's not a matter of having to be super artistically talented or anything like that. Just patience, do the process, and have fun with it. So, all right, we're going to race through some books here. These are Warhammer issues. Now, I say key Warhammer issues. They're not really key. Warhammer has been published by a few different publishers. None of them are that valuable yet, so I didn't even bother to put the values down. But these will just give you some idea. There are Warhammer comics out there if you want to get into the lore. This was Damnation Crusade. This was the first series published by Boom Studios back in 2006. Came from Dan Abnett and Ian Edgerton, and it's the nightmare future of the 41st millennia. Mankind teeters on the brink of extinction. The galaxy-spanning imperium of man is beset on all sides by ravening aliens and threatening from within by malevolent creatures and heretic rebels. Only the strength of the immortal emperor and Terra stands between humanity and its annihilation. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the whole what Warhammer is right there. So there's also, if you're looking for Warhammer stories for comics, we got Blood and Thunder. This is an orc battle. And the orcs are great because they believe, they have confidence to the point where if they believe it, it happens. Not sure how that works, but this is also by Dan Abnett and Ian Eddington. Then we have Exterminatus. This was an Inquisitor. Delius Alastor is dispatched to investigate why a pair of dormant titans have gone undetected beneath the city of Carrion Gulf. Is Alastor capable of meeting with what lurks beneath the Carrion Gulf? Sounds like a fun story. That looks like a Kyle Hotz cover. We also have Fire and Honor. So you've got those 4 from Boom. Then Titan got the license, and they put out Warhammer Death Watch in 2018. Then we also have, and that's a Space Marine group. We also have The Fallen that came out in 2018. And then we have Warhammer Will of Iron. And I think they had one other one, but that's all I've got on this one. So they had the license from 2017, 2018. Then it went to Marvel, and Marvel put out Marinus Caligar in 2020. And then Sisters of Battle, the group that Lucia plays. And then this last one here is Blood Quest. This comes from what's known as the Black Library. This is Warhammer themselves. Games Workshop used to publish comics on their own. So they have a bunch of graphic novels and novels out there, all with the Warhammer lore. So if you want to get into that side of it and learn about the lore and stuff, and keep in mind, this is going to get bigger. This is, with the fact that Henry Cavill has come out and said that he is going to star in and produce Warhammer projects. And this is his baby. And he's got, this guy has got a big enough following that he's going to get people to go in the theater just to see what this is. So this could be the next, resurgence that like Dungeons and Dragons had. This could be the next big thing where the books start going up in price. The games go up in price, stuff like that. So this is a great time to jump in. More accessible, cheaper options on getting in, and it's about to get much higher profile. So sounds like a good time to jump in. I'm in it. Lucia's in it. We'll see who else we can get into it. So, and Ed, if you can't figure out, get close to get a painting option there, I will do a live show one time and show you how to paint if you need that. So all right, guys, I'm going to wrap that up here. Stick around. We have comic collectibles. Then we have Talk and the trivia show.
It's Talk and Treats Trivia.
Talk and Treat Trivia. And then we have Mint Hunter. There'll be no Henri tonight. He is taking a couple weeks off to get ready for Kickstarters and conventions. So see you guys tomorrow where we'll talk Star Wars Timeline.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.